This is Michael Orrell of MobileBurn.com, and today I have with me the Sony Ericsson Xperia X1. It's the first Windows Mobile powered device put out by Sony Ericsson, and it was actually manufactured for the company by HTC, a leader in Windows Mobile smartphone design. You can see it's a slider with a full QWERTY keyboard. It's a 4-row QWERTY keyboard. Good layout, nice large enter key, large space key. Keys don't have the best feel in the world, but it's actually not too bad, and the layout more than makes up for it. I'm really quite pleased with it. The only thing people might find lacking are the soft keys. When you're in landscape mode like this, there are no soft keys to correspond to the on-screen soft keys. I mean, you of course just press with your fingers, but often Windows Mobile devices have a second set of soft keys here. Of course, when you're in normal portrait mode, you do have normal soft keys here. We have an optical joystick which is surrounded by a D-pad, which is a nice compromise. But we have some odd keys around here. This is the panels key. We'll show you the Xperia panels soon. A dedicated OK button, and these small triangular buttons for call send and call end, and then the soft keys up here. Design's a little bit different than one we saw in the original prototypes, but it's still kind of oddball. The display on the Xperia X1 is a nice 800 by 480 wide VGA display. It's a touch screen. One of the problems I have with it, though, is it's not flush mounted like most of the HTC devices and even the recent Samsung devices, which means some gunk can get stuck up there in the corners, and it makes it a little less attractive, and it's not as easy to clean. In terms of actual body materials, you've got what looks like brushed stainless finish with chrome type polished finishes. There's your mini USB power and headset port. There's actually a dedicated 3.5mm headset jack, though, which is better for stereo headphones and that kind of stuff. Small power button, a little bit difficult to get to. Nothing much on the bottom except a lanyard loop right here. Dedicated camera shutter key, and again, very small volume control. You can see the device slides out on an arc. You can see the curved lines in the design. Very nicely sprung, has very, very smooth action, which we're pretty pleased with. The only problem we have is when it's in landscape mode like this, which sometimes takes a second, as you can see, since I'm flipping it back and forth. But when you're in landscape mode like this, you only have to close it just a little bit before it switches back. So since when you're working on it, sometimes your finger may just compress a little bit and it'll switch back to portrait mode. And since you can see that it's not too quick in moving back and forth, that can be a bit of a pain when you're trying to get something done. On the back of the device we have not too much. You've got the lens and flash for the 3.2 megapixel autofocus camera. Nice brushed stainless look for the back cover. X1 logo here. Sony Ericsson graphic. Very solid feel overall. Device weighs about 159 grams, it's about 5.6 ounces, about 111 millimeters long, 52.5 millimeters wide, and about 18 millimeters thick. So it's kind of sizable, it's pretty hefty, but it still fits quite well in a pocket. So while it's fairly large, you can see that the Xperia X1 is a little bit narrower than the main competitor it has, which is the HTC Touch Pro. But in its defense, the Touch Pro has a nicer 5-row QWERTY keyboard, but it lacks the style and some of the design flair that the Sony Ericsson has. In terms of complaints on the device's design, one of them would have to be the backlighting on the keypad. It's a little hard to show here on the video, but it's a white keypad backlight on what is very obviously a silver key. It makes it very difficult to see. The backlighting's off right now thanks to an internal sensor. If we maybe we can get it to fire up there. Yeah, you can see it's on. It's hard to see in the lighting conditions here, but trust me in that it's not ideal. Another potential problem spot, although this hasn't been real widespread, is a number of people have had the body around the stylus here crack, particularly on the silver models from what I've been hearing. The stylus is pretty narrow. It's comfortable enough to use. It's metal. It's still pretty light. It's easy enough to get in and out. but we do worry about potential impacts causing some problems on the plastics from what we've seen online. Another issue that I've mentioned before is that the touchscreen itself. It just has a very non-durable feel to it. It's very obviously a thin film for the touch-sensitive aspect over the rest of the display, and it just kind of feels soft. It just doesn't feel durable like the current Touch Pro and Touch Diamond series from HTC does. So while the X1 has a really solid feel to it in general, and nicely sprung sliding design, a lot of metal in the body, good heft to it, we have some concerns about it. We're a little bit worried about the plastic around the stylus here. There's been some reports of that cracking. We've seen some photos. We're not real pleased with the control cluster. The optical joystick and the D-pad's okay, but these triangular buttons and such, they feel cheap. Just not a little concerned that they're not going to last. The display itself also has a very soft feel. It just doesn't feel durable like some of the new displays you're seeing on HTC and Samsung touchscreen devices. And then there's always the fact that this back comes off too easily. So a lot of things going for it. Nice keyboard in general and everything like that, but just not sure that it's all put together properly.